What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Winter Wolf's Den. Second video of the day today. It was a little bit unexpected. I was just kind of flipping around on Twitter, waiting for the day to end up, and I come across a couple of other folks mentioning that Jennifer Lawrence of, Hunger Games fame and, a couple of other things that were kind of high profile, a couple of years ago, might have stuck her foot in her mouth, made a kind of a dumbass remark about how, and I got it up on the screen for you guys here. It was in an interview with Viola Davis in Variety, where they headline, "Get honest about female action heroes." And when you get into the crux of the article, I got a quote here from Jennifer Lawrence where she says, "I remember when I was doing the Hunger Games, nobody had ever put a woman in the lead of an action movie because it wouldn't work. Because we were told girls and boys could both identify with a male lead, but boys cannot identify with a female lead." And I had to sit back and kind of scratch my head. I'm a few years older than Jennifer Lawrence, God bless her summer child heart. But when you get to a certain age, you realize that things kind of existed before you showed up. And it kind of strikes me that she thinks that she was somehow a trailblazer to getting women in the lead of movies, I guess, that she considered action films. I never really considered The Hunger Games an action film. It was an adaptation of a young adult novel series that had plenty of other stuff going on besides action. You say action to me, I think Terminator, I think Aliens, I think some of the Rambo movies, I think, Chuck Norris films, I think stuff like that. And, what's kind of funny about that genre of films, it's kind of like Jennifer Lawrence herself didn't think that these kind of movies existed before, 2005 or 2010 or whatever she made The Hunger Games. I don't know. I don't recall. I don't care. But, I just wanted to take some time and just maybe introduce her to some friends that, maybe she should get around to revisiting. And, and of course, we have the immortal Sigourney Weaver as Ripley in alien movies dating back to like the 70s and early 80s. We have another immortal queen of genre in terms of sci-fi. Linda Hamilton as Sarah Connor in, two of the best movies I've ever seen in my life in Terminator and T2. We can flick forward and we have, franchise films like La Femme Nikita, further into the 90s with things like Kill Bill Volumes 1 and 2, starred by Uma Thurman, and many more. I mean, it's ridiculous when we get these statement pieces by people that think that they're the ones out there doing the heavy lifting and like pushing some kind of cause. And it's some bullshit, because like anybody could tell you, like females have been at the lead of action flicks for a long time. She's not covering or cutting any new ground here. But I think an important distinction, I think where she trips up in her quote, is she says that, boys and girls are told that they can identify with the male lead, but that boys would have trouble identifying with the female lead. And I think this is where she gets herself into a little bit of the slip up. Yeah, young boys, probably anybody under, 12, might have a problem, identifying with the female lead in the context of like a cartoon or a show. Probably not a whole lot of little boys that wanted to collect Lady Jane figures or Scarlet figures for G.I. Joe, or the female Transformer, or Chitara from Thundercats, things like that. And if we fast forward, most young boys' favorites and things like Avatar probably weren't the female characters. But these are action flicks that are typically aimed towards teens and older people. And rest assured, there wasn't anybody on the planet that had a problem identifying with Bridget Nielsen and Red Sonja, or any of the other the knockoff movies that come out like that. So I think she really stuck her foot down her throat with trying to play herself up as somebody that had trailblazed for characters that had never been done justice, or for opportunities that hadn't been given to people, prior to 2016 or whenever she thinks that she hit her stride as an action star. That's some bullshit right there. I mean, and notwithstanding, females not being in leading roles of action flicks. I mean, Black Widow occurred, after Hunger Games, but certainly nobody never wanted Scarlett Johansson to have her action flick. I mean, she had Lucy, she had Ghost in the Shell, she had plenty of action-y type roles leading into that. And when we talk about supporting roles also, there's a plethora of those where you could say that female leads outshone some of their males. And two of the big ones that really jump out at me, going way, in the Wayback Machine, way back, and then, into the 90s and early 2000s, are Vasquez from Aliens and Trinity from the Matrix series of films. Who doesn't love either of them two? You could probably put Trinity right up there with a lead of those franchise films. Like, she's as equally as important as Morpheus and Neo in those films, and Vasquez definitely outshines most of the other Marines and aliens, besides probably Hicks and Hudson. But there was good stuff all around in these movies dating back decades, like I said before. What about Leeloo, played by Mila Jovovich? You're gonna tell me she wasn't a female lead of The Fifth Element right up there alongside Bruce Willis, as if that wasn't somehow completely her movie? Holy hell, there's another franchise that I had completely forgotten about. What about the Resident Evil series? There's about 15 trillion of those. They were all female-led series. Anybody want to try and tell Jennifer Lawrence that these came long before The Hunger Games? She's just way out of her depth on this one. And it's just, I'm sick and tired of this kind of nonsense just being thrown out there in rags like Variety and The Hollywood Reporter, where people are trying to steal credit for things that they didn't have any part in achieving or creating. That's it for me on this short rant, guys. I appreciate you listening in, and I will see you in the next one.